The Calliope Creative Foundation and producer-director Curt Stewart's rerun of last year's powerful play, Nat Turner's Last Struggle, Finding His Way Home, is now set for November 21st at 8 p.m. and November 22nd at 3 p.m. matinee and an 8 p.m. performance at the Riverside Theater, that's 90 Claremont Avenue and 112th Street in New York City. Joining us today is Curt Stewart. Curt, great to see you again.
Nice to see you, indeed.
Last year we talked about your play that focuses on the insurrection of the rebellious enslaved Nat Turner, who rose up in defiance of the dehumanization of his enslaved brothers and sisters, seeking to liberate them from bondage. This rebellion ultimately led to the death of 58 white Americans, including women and children. Turner was later put on trial, convicted of murder, and sentenced to hanging. Curt, obviously last year you hoped that your play would have a more informed look at Nat Turner's story and would encourage thought-provoking discourse, and it has, right?
Oh, indeed, indeed. As a matter of fact, that's why we're doing the rerun. Uh, the amazing thing, Doug, on the opening of the show, we had a lot of young people in attendance, and the usher advised them to shut off their telephones, no talking, and no getting up and about and all of that. And I was just sitting observing, and I was astounded when the play opened, how they all so quickly locked into the show and did never once did anyone turn on a phone, get up. And later in the show, I happened to observe young people literally crying after observing the beginning of the show. I mean, I was really moved by that. And afterwards, we got a lot of responses from people. Will we be doing the show again, and so on and so on. So we decided, yes, we did. We would. Uh, the nation is has digressed further into a dark place since that year, and it just breaks my heart. Truly breaks my heart to see how it is that so many young people have been snuffed out of our existence here in America with the killing in Minnesota, I believe it was. That was the last tragic uh, killing that we experienced. And I was observing how numb the nation has become to these killings. It tells me that that was very telling, that we are on the verge of losing our soul as a nation. Artists must rise in this nation, and to help bring some sanity to this nation. You know, I have an old saying that the artist has always been the last to the rise in the dying culture, the last to speak in the dying culture, and the first to speak in the new culture. We have we have exhausted this nation has exhausted its place in society, rich, wealthy, the most powerful nation on the planet Earth. So it has reached its zenith point in its development, and now it has begun to devolve into rot and decay, unfortunately. And it's not the masses, black, white, it's not the masses, it's the leadership.
So, Curt, you have always, tried to get messages through your artistic work, and many people appreciate that. The story of Nat Turner is such a controversial one, and there are so many discrepancies in the history books of what actually happened. When people see this show, for many, it's probably the first real telling of what took place in the
Indeed.
1800s.
Indeed. Indeed. And you know the interesting thing about it, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Doug, in our last interview, last year's interview. I happened to go online to do some research, trying to get a play that spoke to life and death, because there was so much life, I mean, death sweeping the planet Earth, the war in Ukraine and the Middle East. And I wanted something that speaks about the value of life and death. And I happened to did some research, and I came across the play Nat Turner. And the play was written by P.A. Gray. Now, P.A. Gray to me is a black name. I said, "Oh, let me reach out to this person," and I'm assuming it's a man, by the way, a black man. And so my assistant arranged for me to meet this P.A. Gray, and so I'm getting ready to go into the Zoom room to see a black man, and I when I got in, I was shocked, astounded. It was a white woman, P.A. Gray. And let me tell you something. I always I say to myself, that was preordained. Uh, that was done in the spiritual of greater things to happen in the nation, and I really believe that. And so she and I struck up a conversation, and she and I would just hit it off. We shared the same vision, and that's what prompted me to do the play. Uh, her name is P.A. Gray, and she's an extraordinary talent, an extraordinary human being. And so we have joined in our efforts to try and help get artists to start doing what we need to do to help save our humanity.
Now, I know the last time Columbia University was partnering with you, and
Yes.
have you seen a change in young people's yearning to know history? Or
Yes, absolutely. I do. I have seen it. I have talked to young people. They wanted to know more about this Nat Turner's life, as well as, and this is essentially that's why I have so much hope. It's essentially the Gen Z generation, the millennium and the Gen Z generations. They are the ones, and they're the ones going to make the difference in the world. They're going to say we're going to save our world, uh, and they are the ones. We've gotten some emails from them, wanted to know when is the play going to be done again. We reached out to we formed a coalition of agencies, social agencies, youth social agencies, and we have reached out to agencies as far as Danbury, Connecticut, and Stamford, Connecticut, where essentially blacks are highly concentrated. And we shoot across to the Mid Hudson Valley, Poughkeepsie, Newburgh, Beacon, and on down through the valley, Middletown, or not rather Spring Valley and Nyack, and on down through Jersey. We have agencies, we've organized agencies, and they're bringing their youth population, 10 and 15 numbers and all that, to see this play. And so things are working, and they are curious about what happened to this guy, Nat Turner, and why did he end up killing white people? And that's a logical, fair question. So if you don't mind, I'd like to read something that might shed light on what he said, what happened. He speaks. Nat Turner. He said, uh, "What you would add on to us if we sought your kingdom? You would add on to us. You would make us the least of the world, the first, you would also give us our freedom and the means to fight the serpent. Praise you, Lord. My people would soon be free. That revelation was so powerful and so important, I decided to conceal it from the others and wait for a sign from the others, his friends and followers. A sign came all right. It came in the sky in February 1831. The same day I learned my son, Riddick, was being used as collateral on a loan. Can you imagine that? A boy having to pay the price for a grown man who can't pay his bills? A boy who will be ripped from his mother's loving arms to be placed in the hands of one of the greatest money lenders in St. Louis, who sell him in a slave, who will sell him to a slave trader, who will then sell him down the river, never to be seen by us again. I couldn't bear to hear the thought. As for my fear and rage rose, the sun turned black in the sky, just as it had done in the vision had, I had of the great battle across the sky. I knew then the time had come, and I knew what had to be done. I gathered up my troops and so on, and the war started. That's what led him into battle. Nobody wants to see innocent. And the tragic is that there was this little white girl who loved Nat Turner, very fond of him, followed him wherever he went, practically, and he ended up killing her. That's so we know that something has gone terribly wrong amongst us, that this kind of thing would happen. So we wanted to talk about the value and the sanctity of life. All life is valuable, and we have got to get to the point where we can internalize that and accept that. And the young generation is getting it. The Gen Z, the millennium, and I think in my grandson, I think they have an alpha generation now. They get it. I see my little grandson, how he's got white friends and they just love each other. They get it. So I feel encouraged and optimistic about the future in spite of the dark ages that we're in now.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Nat Turner, as you mentioned in that passage there, was a man of faith. Um, it was, you know, no one really knows what was necessarily going through his head. Did he see visions? But he was an educated slave. And I wanted to ask you about that. Um,
Yes.
Obviously, that's why slave owners did not want to have their property become
Educated.
educated because they would realize that this is
Yes.
wrong and this is unacceptable.
Yes. 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 He was self-taught. His mother came to America as a rebellious slave, as a rebellious woman. She was going to she was not going to accept slavery. She was pregnant with him as she crossed the ocean, and she was determined that he was not going to be a slave. She tried to kill him as a young child, and so when Turner purchased her, he separated, and Nat was born. He separated the two because he did not want to see the mother kill the son, his property. So he put her, put Nat with an old enslaved woman who adopted him as not adopt, but became, in a sense, his grandmother. And she's the one who taught him the Bible, the scriptures of the Bible. And from the time he was a kid, she told him, "You're gonna, boy, you're gonna grow up to be somebody. With all them knots on your head, boy, you're gonna be somebody." And he internalized that. He believed that he was destined to be great. And he read incessantly the Bible as well as others. And he was a very brilliant man. He talks about how he could look at a book and he could glean from that book uh, passages that he was able to interpret and make sense to him.
He was only
He
31, right?
That's right. He was a young man. Yes, yes, and he uh, he he did feel he was very humane. He met a white man, I think Eldred, who uh, they had a conversation about the spiritual, and this white man said slavery was wrong, it's evil, and that he was guilty of it himself because he had participated in it, and Nat Turner converted him, and they went about trying to change the nation, but they weren't able to get that done, unfortunately.
Curt, I wanted to ask you, how has, since last year and your production of Nat Turner's Last Struggle, Finding His Way Home, once again set to rerun on November 21st and November 22nd at the Riverside Theater in New York City, how has it changed you, this performance?
Well, it just reminds me that we're in a dark place as a world, not just America. It's a dark place as a nation. And I'm convinced that there has to be a greater intervention than man himself. And it's put me closer to the idea of there's got to be a God in this universe. It's got to be. Uh, and then one day I was just looking at my daughter, and she looks just like me. And I said, "That is no accident. That is no accident. That goes to the heart of inheritance." And that takes us back to the whole idea that there's something in the universe greater than us. This is not about an accident. So
Mm.
I deal with that every day.
Recently, one of our commentators, Mildred Antonor, uh, did a piece on how the history books just don't give enough attention and enough credit to black leaders when it comes to the fight to be able to vote, for women to be able to vote, and all that stuff. Do you see a change at any point where books will have more about Nat Turner, but not just thrown at them, but with an explanation of why this took
Yes,
place?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. What we're doing today is helping to set the stage for that inevitability. That's going to happen. The children are going to demand that it happens. Even those who are trying to squash history, their own children are going to demand that it happens. They're going to demand because it's a contradiction here, and the contradiction must be reconciled. And Dr. King said it better than and the philosopher Carlyle. Dr. King said a lie can't live forever. Carlyle says that a truth you crush it to the earth shall rise again. The children, they're going to walk in their home one day. "Mommy, Daddy, I read this today. Why is this way? Come on, Dad. Come on, Mom." They're going to be the ones who are going to change this thing, the young people.
So those who want to see the rerun of the play, what can they do?
They can go online on our website there, and they can purchase tickets, $35 a ticket, 25 and $10 tickets. Uh, on November the 21st, that's a Friday evening at 8 o'clock, we'll perform. On matinee, our matinee is on the 22nd at 3 p.m. Same place, go to the same place to purchase tickets, as well as Saturday night show at 8 p.m.
And there you have it, an opportunity to learn much more about a very misunderstood incident, but more importantly, as our guest Curt Stewart has mentioned, an opportunity to get some more discourse and more dialogue about getting along together.
That's right.
The Calliope Creative Foundation and producer director Curt Stewart has been our guest. The rerun of last year's play, Nat Turner's Last Struggle, Finding His Way Home, set for November 21st and November 22nd at Riverside Theater. That's Claremont Avenue in New York City. Curt, great to see you again, and congratulations on this show.
Thank you for having me again. I appreciate it. And good luck to you, my friend.